Have you heard? December 19th is the new National Day of No Return in America. That's when the mysterious people who make the U.S. election system the most complicated in the world are going to vote. The electors. That means the Trump haters only have about a week to do something about it.
Russia definitely had involvement in the American election.
Russia leaked Democratic Party emails to boost Donald Trump's chances of winning the presidential election race.
Russia intervened to help tip the U.S. election in favor of Donald Trump.
The CIA claims Moscow was trying to get Donald Trump elected.
Yes. Read the Washington Post this past weekend. Some unnamed officials who spoke on condition of anonymity told them the CIA shared its secret assessment with key senators in a closed-door briefing. Russia intervened in the 2016 election to help Donald Trump win.
The United States is not a banana republic. It's a great power. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do you really think Russia can influence anything? Claims of Russian interference in the US presidential election campaign are a mythical problem and hysteria.
Some electoral college voters are demanding an intelligence briefing before they cast their ballot for President of the United States. 9 Democrats and 1 Republican sent a letter to Director of National Intelligence James Clapper. The electors say they want to know anything the intelligence community knows regarding potential ties between Donald Trump and Russia's interference in the U.S. presidential election before they cast their vote December 19th. That includes any contact Trump's campaign had with Russia, his business ties with Russia, or anything else that could impact the electors' decision on whether Mr. Trump is fit to serve as President of the United States.
The White House strongly suggested that Donald Trump benefited from Russians meddling in the U.S. presidential election. Press Secretary John Earnest reminded people that the president-elect praised Vladimir Putin on the campaign trail. He also told members of the media that the Russians hacked and leaked emails from the Democratic National Committee and John Podesta, and not from the RNC or Steve Bannon. Earnest said members of Congress should stop hand-wringing and start investigating Russian ties to the election.
Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta said on Monday, the bipartisan electors' letter raises very grave issues involving our national security. Electors have a solemn responsibility under the Constitution, and we support their efforts to have their questions addressed. Even though the former Secretary of State garnered 3 million more votes than Trump, she was defeated in the general election by an electoral vote margin of 306 to 232.
Russia should not be treated equally as it's a strategic competitor to Western countries. They are the words of the UK Defence Secretary Michael Fallon. That statement came during an interview with the BBC, where he also spoke about the situation in Syria and the new administration in the United States.
That can't be treating Russia as an equal. Russia is a strategic competitor to us in the West, and we have to understand that.
Well, look, what Michael Fallon appeared to be saying in that TV interview is that he's ready to work with the new US administration to de-escalate tensions with Moscow, to work towards a solution in Syria, but that Britain's friendship is conditional. It was framed as a polite yet stern reminder, and quite an extraordinary thing for a defense secretary to say, really. There's this sort of I'll be your friend as long as you're not friends with those other guys scenario taking place here. And this isn't the first time in recent weeks that Michael Fallon has intimated that he's concerned about the US potentially having warmer relations with Russia. Take a listen to what he said in an interview just last month.
In practice, every American administration has always stood up to Russia. We're not suggesting you shouldn't talk to Russia, but what you can't do is treat Russia as business as usual, as any kind of equal partner.
With some new information, President-elect Donald Trump defending a controversial phone call with Taiwan's leader that still continues to make news. A week later on Fox News Sunday, Mr. Trump denying that he knew about the conversation more than a few hours ahead of time. Our Greg Palcott is live with more on this story. Greg?
Jenna, the comments coming from President-elect Trump with our colleague Chris Wallace regarding the one China policy, getting some very strong reaction from China itself today. A spokesperson for the foreign ministry saying that the government has serious concern about any change for the long-held U.S. position, recognizing Beijing and maintaining only unofficial ties with Taiwan, saying any shift would mean cooperation would be out of the question. Another government-linked newspaper there going further, calling Trump a businessman through and through, but in the field of diplomacy, in their words, he is ignorant as a child.
Took a call. I heard the call was coming probably an hour or two before. I fully understand the one China policy, but I don't know why we have to be bound by a one China policy unless we make a deal with China, having to do with other things, including trade. I mean, look, we're being hurt very badly by China with devaluation, with taxing us heavy at the borders when we don't tax them, with building a massive fortress in the middle of the South China Sea, which they shouldn't be doing, and frankly, with not helping us at all with North Korea. You have North Korea, you have nuclear weapons, and China could solve that problem, and they're not helping us at all. So I don't want China dictating to me, and this was a call put into me. I didn't make the call, and it was a call, very short call, saying, "Congratulations, sir, on the victory." It was a very nice call, short. And why should some other nation be able to say, "I can't take a call"? I think it actually would have been very disrespectful, to be honest with you, not taking it.
On Monday, Japan stated that it was protesting the Chinese complaint that Japanese fighter jets had engaged in dangerous and unprofessional behavior in an encounter with Chinese aircraft Saturday. According to Chinese Defense Ministry spokesman Yang Yu-jun, 2 Japanese F-15 fighter jets flew over the Miyako Strait and conducted close-range interference, firing decoy flares and jeopardizing the security of Chinese aircraft and pilots. Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga rejected the accusation, saying, "The fact that China's military unilaterally announced something clearly different from the facts is extremely regrettable and harms the improvement of relations between Japan and China." Suga said Japan would watch the actions of the Chinese military, which are expanding and increasing.
A Hamas official has just made the shocking public announcement on the terrorist group's TV network that the Gaza rulers will share their vast arsenal of rockets with any Arab army willing to fire them at the Jewish state. Fatih Hamad stated the Hamas intention to open a multi-front threat against Israel with the help of its Arab brothers. On the Al-Aqsa television channel he directs.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he hopes to work closely with President-elect Donald Trump to undo the 2015 Iran nuclear deal. In an interview with 60 Minutes Sunday, he said Trump's support for Israel was clear. He also mentioned his differences with President Obama over Iran.
He feels very warmly about the Jewish state, about the Jewish people, and about Jewish people. There's no question about that. I had differences of opinion with President Obama, and most well known, of course, is Iran.
Netanyahu also said there are, quote, various ways of undoing the Iranian nuclear deal.
One of Europe's most liberal leaders appears to be reversing course tonight on what could be her biggest political liability. German Chancellor Angela Merkel is drawing a line in the political sand over one of Islam's most fundamental elements.
German Chancellor Angela Merkel, seen as a liberal icon for letting 1 million immigrants come into her country last year, coming down hard this week against Muslim women wearing full-face veils and Muslim-based Sharia law.
We do not want any parallel societies, and where they exist, we have to tackle them. Our laws have priority over honor codes, tribal and family rules, and over the Sharia.
Sharia law becoming a buzzword not just for Merkel but for other politicians in France and elsewhere, conjuring up an image of tough and strict law and order systems as seen in some Muslim countries transplanted to the West.
It's like captured, like I was saying, the popular imagination, and people are afraid that if people come to their countries that they won't integrate and that they will try to, impose Sharia law.
The reality can be different, however. For example, in the UK there are some 30 Sharia councils. They don't like to use the word court, usually linked to mosques, known of and allowed by the government. A recent poll in France found that 30% of Muslims surveyed, 46% of Muslim youth considered Sharia law more important than French law.
In a lawsuit filed Monday, the U.S. Justice Department said Culpeper County in Virginia has discriminated against a Muslim congregation on religious grounds by stopping the group's plans to build a mosque on its land. The complaint alleges the county violated federal law when in April it would not grant the Islamic Center of Culpeper's permit application for a sewage system on its land. In the lawsuit, the Justice Department said the county's decision was religious discrimination and placed a substantial burden on the center's application of religion.
It's just hard to believe that this is going on.
I think it's kind of ridiculous.
You got to sit down and talk about it before you file the lawsuits.
Every one of the Knightstown residents we found near the square said the same thing. They can't understand why one of their neighbors would sue their town over the annual Christmas display.
In my opinion, I think it's a little bit of disgrace, I think, to our town.
The ACLU filed the lawsuit against Knightstown on behalf of Joseph Tompkins, who lives there. The case documents show Tompkins takes issue with the cross at the top of the tree. It says Tompkins, quote, is forced to come into direct and unwelcome contact with the cross display every day, which has caused him irreparable harm.
A couple weeks ago, they had a crowd here. Everybody was here. They lit their tree. Everybody was fine with it. But now you got one person, out of everybody.
Dropping is usually a pretty harmless thing most of us are guilty of doing. However, toy advocacy groups are complaining to the Federal Trade Commission about kids' toys that could actually be spying and collecting data on the entire family.
Nowadays, just about everything comes equipped with wireless internet connections from stores like Macy's. However, some companies are taking it just a step further and placing this advanced technology into kids' toys, potentially placing children in harm's way. My friend Kayla and IQ Intelligent Robot are two talking dolls currently on the market. With Christmas just around the corner, many parents have or are gearing up to purchase these two hot items made by Genesis Toys. According to CBS Money Watch, both trinkets come equipped with a Bluetooth microphone, a speaker, a mobile application, storage, and Wi-Fi connections. Conversations are also recorded and collected between the toys and children. What's even scarier is Kayla prompts kids to answer personal questions such as where they live, attend school, and what their family members' names are. According to CBS Money Watch, these toys can be hacked into using Bluetooth. It just takes for someone to have a smartphone or tablet and be within 50 feet of one of the toys. And after a cell phone is connected to one of the toys, an individual can call that phone using another cellular device in order to converse with and listen to conversations collected from my friend Kayla or IQ Intelligent Robot.
So no more lost keys. You heard me. Never worry about losing your keys again thanks to KeyMe. Now you can copy home, office, even car keys and save digital copies to the cloud using your phone or kiosks available across the country at retailers like Bed Bath & Beyond, Rite Aid, 7-Eleven, Kmart, Safeway, Sears, and others. Joining us right now is the CEO of KeyMe, Greg Marsh. Greg, good to see you.
Thanks so much.
How does this technology work?
Yeah, absolutely. So from a high level, we're disrupting the locksmith industry. It's this massive $7.5 billion industry, poorly run, fragmented, and hasn't seen innovation for 100 plus years. So what we do is we let you actually scan a physical copy of your key from your phone. We use computer vision to extract all those geometrical features. Once you've done that, if you want a copy, we'll ship you a perfect copy in the mail. If you get locked out, you can go to the second platform, which is a retail kiosk, log in and actually print out a spare key on the spot, so saving you hundreds of bucks from a locksmith. And then lastly, we also do car keys. So if you insert your car key into the kiosk, we can actually pull the transponder information from the chip of the key, and we'll send you a copy about half the price.
We've been talking all morning about hacking. Is it secure in terms of being in the cloud, your key in the cloud?
Yeah, so security is a core value at the company. We've been very thoughtful about it. There's really two buckets. So the first is making sure that people are only copying keys that they should be copying. And when you look at the way people are currently copying keys at locksmiths or hardware, when you go in, a locksmith or hardware has no way to verify who you are and no way of knowing what key you're making. And so currently there's zero accountability. There's no infrastructure, there's no control, no accountability. For the first time ever, we actually have all this information associated with every key we make. So, transaction history, financial paper trail, we use biometrics to log into the kiosk, we have security footage. So for the first time ever, we're actually holding people accountable for the keys they copy.
Where do you get the funding? You've got a latest round of funding, and what are you using the money for?
Yeah, it's really exciting. We've been very fortunate to have an amazing group of investors. Just recently, we announced an additional $25 million led by Providence Equity. And so we've raised $70 million to date. And we're really putting the money towards expanding the kiosk network. So currently, we have 300 kiosks. In the next 12 months, we'll have 3,000.
Wow.
Europe's central bank will stop printing the €500 note in 2018. Canada and Singapore have phased out their large denomination bills. The Philippines, Denmark and others are tweaking regulations to nudge citizens to switch to electronic payments. It's all part of a global trend against paper money. But India's move has been the most radical of all. There, the Prime Minister banned the country's largest banknote and one of its most commonly used ones overnight.
In its so-called economic war against gangs, Venezuela is now scrapping its highest value cash bill. People will have 10 days starting Wednesday to exchange their 100 Bolivar notes for coins and other bills. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro has blamed much of the country's economic woes on international gangs, which he says are hoarding 100 Bolivar notes. But soon those bills will be worthless. Critics say Maduro's move will hurt ordinary citizens too, saying 10 days isn't enough time for people to exchange all of their 100 Bolivar notes. This story likely sounds familiar. Last month, India made a similar move, eliminating its two largest bills to fight corruption. As a result, people spent hours in line at ATMs and banks ran out of money.
What do you do if you live in a place where your money is suddenly worth almost nothing? And every day, because of wild inflation, it's worth even less. Here is a $1 billion bill from Zimbabwe. This bill is a $100 trillion bill. Yet this isn't even worth a penny today. Venezuelans don't yet have currency that's that worthless, this worthless, but their money shrinks in value every hour. Businesses don't even want to take the local currency. So what do some people do to survive? They use Bitcoin.
Bitcoins are transferred directly from person to person via the net. Sending Bitcoins is as simple as sending an email. And you can purchase anything with Bitcoin.
She's a Bitcoin girl. She doesn't care that I can buy her pearls. But maybe someday when my currency creates a brand new cryptocurrency.
Connect this to hyperinflation in Venezuela. We'll go first to Reason Magazine reporter Jim Epstein, who went to Latin America to observe how people use Bitcoin to survive. So, how?
There is a growing community of Venezuelans who are using Bitcoins to buy food from Amazon.com and Walmart.
But how do they get it? There are all these import bans.
There is a whole industry of courier services in Miami that basically you have your Amazon package shipped to their warehouse in Miami and they bring it over in a boat or a plane and deliver it right to your door. They're using Bitcoin because it's practical. It's putting food in their cabinets.
There's a new microchip that can be used to buy or sell, and it can be implanted or worn as a ring. The device can store business, financial, and biometric information. It was developed by a multinational company called Etisalat, based in the United Arab Emirates. According to Newsweek Middle East, the device also allows people to share whatever information they choose, either personal or financial, with someone else who also has the ring, simply by tapping the two rings together. Gulf News reports the chip is approved by some European countries, but it won't be mass-produced as a product just yet.
I've been asked everything under the sun. You won't offend me, I promise you. If I don't want to answer, I know how to plead the fifth. I've done that many times in my life, so don't worry about it. Okay.
If Michael Francis seems at home here, he should.
It's great, man. I'm around you guys.
A long time ago, he was a captain in the New York mob, a made member of the infamous Colombo crime family. In the gangster movie Goodfellas, he's mentioned by name.
And Mikey Francis.
That guy, yeah, I want to see him. Francis lived a violent, wildly profitable life of crime. Listen to him now.
You know, God's got a plan and a purpose for every one of you. You know that, don't you? You don't come into this life just to be an inmate.
Well, to be clear, these aren't just any inmates, and this isn't just any jail. These are prisoners in Cook County's notorious Division 9. They're gang members, drug dealers, and killers. Division 9's where we see brawls like this one that left 20 inmates and 6 guards injured about a month ago.
He meant more to me, and he made it out, so I felt as if
it ain't no difference with me. I feel like I can make it too.
Michael himself spent 10 years in a place very much like this before finding his faith, turning his life around, then coming back inside to help others do the same thing.
You let the Lord guide you, you're not coming back here. Guaranteed. All this stuff that goes on in here, turn to the Lord.
It's his first time speaking here, but it's not his first time here. The last time, he was a prisoner.
They transported me from L.A. to New York, and I spent one night in Cook County back in '89.
Since then, this ex-mobster's learned a lot more about Chicago, its guns, its gangs. A former gang member himself, he hopes he can help.
I know everything that these guys are going through, and you know, hopelessness is the worst feeling that you could ever feel, and it breeds hopelessness, this place.
Mike showed me that not just one person, fame, fortune, none of that brings you peace. And if God could change him, you know, he could change me.